Hey there. So this reading is about what is it that you could be doing that you've been avoiding. And it doesn't necessarily mean practical things that you're aware of. This is going to be more something in the subconscious, possibly. Possibly. We'll see. So I just want to warn that, this could nick your pride, you know? This could be hard to hear. This could be feeling like a call out. But take it for what it's worth, If something rubs you in that way, where it's like, ow, or ew, or ooh, don't say that to me, it does mean that you're being given an opportunity to clear something from your energetic field that could be limiting you. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if the nature of this reading is to not only identify the thing that you've been doing or avoiding doing instead of what you're avoiding to do, or that it would also key in and poke you in the place that is causing you to not do the thing that you know you need to do, or that you don't know you need to do, causing you to not do the thing that needs to be done. Yeah. As a next step in the highest good of all for you on your journey. So this is a personal thing, right? And this is a general reading. So you know what is meant for you. All I'm saying is if you feel like it's not for you, you'll know it's not for you. If you feel like, ouch, don't say that, that can't be for me, you might want to look at it before you dismiss it, because if it is a pride issue, then your pride's probably keeping you from actually seeing it and looking directly at it. And looking directly at it is where you're going to get to the bottom of it and free yourself from it. These could be cycles, loops of energy that you've been in and been oblivious to. I don't know. Let's see where this goes, because I don't know. I'm definitely in a different spot than I was the last time I was doing these type readings. So let's just see what happens. I'm curious too. I picked 3 out of this oracle that I have. I don't know what I would call this oracle, but there's like hundreds of words and concepts in this bucket. Interesting that I pulled out this, because this should be in my astrology oracle. 6th house is pick 1. And okay, stuck is pick 2. Lies is pick 3. And healed from is pick 4. So I think I've got it this way. I could be wrong, guys. I don't know why, but my brain does not work when it comes to knowing which order these should be in on my for my camera to display them correctly. My brain does other stuff, not figuring out. Or actually, I figure it out sometimes and then I forget. So this is it. 6th house is pick 1, stuck is pick 2, lies are pick 3, and healed from is pick 4. So use your own intuition, decide if one or more of these has a message for you. And I'm just gonna, excuse me, set them up here in front of me in order so that I don't forget. All right. I'm also gonna put this 6th house one in my astrology oracle, because that's where it belongs. So let's start with pick 1, 6th house. Okay. Oh, it looks so weird for me to look at myself and not have like my bun up on the top of my head. All right, so I'm going to start by saying Something is different for you in your everyday, day to day, the way you're doing things in your day to day life. Something is different. Maybe you got a haircut. Maybe you're doing your hair different too. Um, maybe you got some new clothes. Changed jobs, got a promotion. Maybe you're playing hooky today. All right. I'm going to leave that there for now. Let's dig into this oracle a little bit more. All right. Tell us what is pick one doing instead of the thing they need to be doing? Got wrath, human design, and sad. Angry and sad and feeling very justified about it. All right. Angry and sad and feeling very justified. And you could be having gratitude. All right, so the thing that you're avoiding to do is be thankful, is to find your way out of what you're feeling in order to come around to the other side. So this is an ongoing pattern that has haunted you for day in, day out. Maybe you're finally at a point where you're actually willing to see this in yourself. So that's why you've been drawn to this reading, so that we could actually look it in the eye together. But basically, something that you actually haven't seen, that it's got a silver lining. And so you've been like angry, sad, but also like feeling very justified in that. And whenever we feel justified, it's our ego that is telling us that we are justified in it, because our ego doesn't want to deal with the pain of something. So while you are justifying one of these emotions of sadness or wrath, justifying it, it's sort of like having a placeholder for it. It's like, yep, this is part of us. We're going to keep that in our energy because that's justified. And here's what happens. Energy, even emotions, are meant to be moving on a wave of energy. But if you start justifying it, now it's like adopting a grudge. You've kind of said, oh, that's mine. So it's staying with you. So it'll kind of like, you'll be ruminating on it over and over again because you have not fully allowed it through. You've not become the version of yourself that can process those feelings. And the reason is because you don't want to process those feelings, because something is making you avoid that. And what's making you avoid that is your ego that's trying to protect you from actually feeling that, because at an earlier time in your life, maybe you weren't prepared to feel that. But right now you are prepared. You're prepared to feel, to be the version of yourself that can process through wrath and sadness. Okay? Now, what is making you angry? What is making you sad? Why? What was the trigger for you? Are you getting is it an ongoing condition that you're living with in your day-to-day life? I think so. It could be that you hate your job. And it could be that all those things that I named in the beginning, it could be that none of them look different, that you haven't been able to buy yourself new clothes, that you haven't even been able to get a haircut, that you have the same job that you hate for a long time now. It could be something like that, right? And it's like the thing you're avoiding is actually doing those things for yourself, because you otherwise using your energy to justify the negative feelings that you have about the situation. Okay, so this is a very human way to cope with an overwhelming, uncomfortable situation. Okay, and what this is saying is, like, you've lived in it long enough. Okay, so acknowledging that this is the case, that you've been feeling this way, that it's been for a long time. It may have even been a lifelong thing because you saw your parents act this way too. You know, it could be that much in your subconscious. It could be programmed into you that this is what you do. You drudge through life, you hate what you do, but you do it anyway. You drudge through life, you wear the same clothes because you can't spend money on something new because you have to survive and you have more important things to provide for. You know, things like this. So I just had all these like thoughts flood in about how even on the most limited budget you can find, you know, clearance. And there's a 10-cent sale at our local thrift shop. Well, it's not the localist thrift shop to me, but one of the thrift shops in the area has 10-cent sale twice a month. I used to love that sale because it would just feel so abundant, right? Because I could get anything that was 10 cents. A lot of those 10-cent things, I could get 20 of them, you know? Anyway, the pattern of living in this way has you in a state of, like, it feels normal, I think. It just feels normal. So as I'm saying it, it might be like, well, you can't change it for me. You can't change my circumstance. So how am I, how am I going to be grateful for it? That's ridiculous, right? And it's like, well, actually, let's just process through the emotion in a way that will allow it to move. And then the gratitude can come later and it will be a natural byproduct. It's nothing you'll have to force. And if you don't feel it, you don't have to feel it, right? Like, let's just see what happens when you allow this emotion to keep moving instead of justifying it. Okay, let's do this. You've acknowledged that you have it. Now validate why you have it. Whether it is because of this circumstance that makes you feel it's justified, whether you can trace it back to a pattern that you did see in your parents and that you may be repeating. Validate why you have it. It is valid for you to have it, you know? And then accept that that's the case. You have this. This is your belief. This is what you've been living in. This is what you've been feeling. This is what you've been living day in, day out. This overwhelming anger and sadness over your circumstance. And then once you accept that this is where you're at, you are now set up to become the version of yourself to feel the feelings of what it is to be with that. Now, the justification is going to be on a back burner now. You've already justified it all you needed to. Right now, what you're going to do is be present with the feelings. So this means you are not going to push it away. You're not going to blame something else. You're not going to wish it was different. You are going to be with what you feel. Like, let that feeling come in and be with you. Oh, sadness of you can be with me. I am capable of being with you now. Let that sadness be with you. And just, you might want to close your eyes. You might want to put your hand on your heart, whatever's comfortable for you. You might want to do this processing in bed or in a comfortable place, in a safe container where you're able to kind of just be uninterrupted with this feeling. And not for any limited amount of time either. This is a thing where you are just in presence and allowing for that feeling, which does exist, to be with you. Now, what you've done by accepting that it's there is you're no longer pushing that energy. So it's not stuck in resistance. And now you have been present, which opens up your field. It opens up your central channel and it allows that energy to start moving when it's ready. So at some point, while you're being present with this energy, this feeling, it will start moving all on its own. And now what will happen is there may be another feeling that comes up, so you want to be present with that feeling too. One at a time. When you have identified them, validated them, and accepted them, then you be present with them. Because once you do one, another one might want your attention too. It might say, hey, how about me? Can you accept me? What you're doing is becoming the version of you that loves you, even though you've had this experience. And love, it sounds corny, love really is the answer. Loving yourself, which is being present with yourself, which is accepting yourself, which is having compassion for yourself, which is understanding yourself, is all it takes. Okay, so maybe you've been justifying this feeling because you're angry, you've been pointing the blame at someone else, and you're really angry at them for putting you in this predicament. That's one of those things you're going to have to, you feel valid reasons for it, that accept that that's the case. What you're accepting is that this is your feeling. Whether you blame them or not, it's your feeling that you have responsibility for now. So accept that you have it, and then be present with your feeling that you have without trying to identify where it came from, why it's there anymore, just being with it. This is like becoming this adult version of yourself that can now handle these like child emotions. And that's just a figurative way of picturing it, right? Like you're the adult and the emotion is the child, and you're just going to be with it for as long as it takes, for whatever it needs. It doesn't have to explain itself to you, or you're not going to explain it to itself. You're just going to be with it. So once these feelings, which are energy, start moving, you will start to see a bigger picture view. You'll first of all become a compassionate version of yourself who understands yourself better, who's more loving and accepting of yourself. And this automatically allows you to see other perspectives. Now, first of all, you may feel like it's still a stretch to get to gratitude from there, and you may not. But gratitude is the highest way that you can feel about a thing. To be grateful for the situation. You know, when you start to see the other side of something, you realize, oh, I became a more compassionate person because I went through that. Or, oh, actually, that saved me from becoming that ambitious person who would walk all over people. Or, oh, this actually taught me to get the most for my money out of any situation. Oh, this actually taught me the value in buying things that are of good quality, since I'm only going to buy it once. You know, there's some gold in there somewhere. Some gold in there somewhere that you can extract and be grateful for when you are ready. Only after you've done the process. It won't make sense to do it before the process. And pick one. This is your reading on what could you be doing that you've been avoiding. Okay? All right. Let's move on to pick number 2. Pick number 2, you chose the word stuck. Okay, stuck. Actually, when I just put it down there, it was in reverse, so you could have just come unstuck from a situation, to be honest. Let's see. You know, sometimes we're in a pause for a reason at a certain stage in our lives, and it's so that we can do a lot of inner work, or that we can see a different perspective before we proceed, or we just don't have the inspired action to take. And because we are in a culture, a lot of us are in a culture where We've been taught to go, 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 be busy, strive, all this stuff. It can sometimes feel wrong to be in the same place doing or not knowing or not doing something that you deem more important. Okay. So my point in saying this is that sometimes stuck isn't really stuck, but let's see. Yeah, maybe you've been kind of not giving yourself enough credit for where you're at. It's important to celebrate how far we've come for like most of the steps along the way, right? You got through this day, celebrate how far you've come. You got this far in life, celebrate how far you've come. You knew what to do up until this point. Okay, celebrate that. All right, enable. Okay, so what was I asking? See, I did something unproductively there because I forgot to reiterate the question before I pulled a card. But the question that I was meaning to ask was what are you doing instead of the thing that you could be doing? And so we got enable. What are you doing instead of the thing that you could be doing? You're enabling something. Accepting. Okay, that's interesting. All right, let's see what else. What are you doing instead of the thing that you could be doing? Identifying as an archetype. I just heard martyr. And I also heard an archangel. I'm eroding my sense of pride. That is from a song called Lake Missoula. I don't know who sings it. Eroding my sense of pride. I'm bursting at the bridge is gonna leave a nasty scar. Yeah, it's like this too much sacrifice. You're sacrificing. What could you be doing instead? Reputation, scapegoat, preoccupied. You could let your reputation speak for itself. If people, okay, so say you stop doing this thing that you've been doing. Because I get the sense that there are other people involved in this situation. Otherwise, it wouldn't matter as much. But it could be just you and you. It could be just you and you. So apply it as it resonates for you. All right, but say you stop doing this thing that you've been doing. This archetypal thing, whether it's martyrdom, acting as a guardian angel or an archangel to others, or just identifying as something that requires you to sacrifice. Others may blame you. They may take up, others may blame you and they may try to dirty up your reputation about it, right? And you might be worried about that even, but this is saying let that happen. You're going to be too busy. Busy with what, Spirit? Busy with what? What could they be doing instead of this? Practicing. You have something that you are here to do or learn, or there is a next step. You're not actually stuck. It's just that you've been staying in a cycle of enabling a certain situation to continue on. Withdraw projection. And this situation that you're in is serving as a place to uh, put your projection. Okay, there's something inside you that you haven't owned yet. Oh, okay. So what I feel it is that maybe you're telling yourself that you're worried about your reputation and how people will feel and think about you if things change, if you don't do this thing anymore. But that's a projection. It's not actually necessarily the truth, though it may be. But what's more important and what you have control over is your own judgment of yourself. That you would have to own the reality of who you really are and where you're really at, which is a place of beginning. It's a place of needing practice. It's a place of learning. You're really good at and you're very comfortable in what you've been doing. You feel stuck in it, and you may tell yourself you're stuck in it because so many people are depending on you, or so many people are thinking of you in a certain way, or so many people count on it. You're helping so many people, or whatever it may be. But in actuality, that is not the reason why you are stuck. The reason you are stuck is because you've been afraid to take that upon yourself. You've made this mean something that it might not mean, right? Like if you're acting as an angel and sacrificing for others, it means you're an angel. So that, how can you get any better than that, right? Like, I wouldn't want to take myself off that pedestal either. But if you're stuck up on that pedestal, these are just archetypes. Like, you don't have to be one thing in this lifetime. You have so many opportunities to experience a lot of things. And if you've experienced acting as an angel in people's lives, what a beautiful gift that you've experienced and had. So you don't have to negate all that you've done and who you've been up to this point in order to step off of that pedestal, I want to say, and start again from on some other leg of your journey. The next leg of your journey will be assisted by the fact that you learned what you learned doing what you were doing in every experience up till now. It's all coming with you. And it wasn't that you don't need them to see you in this role. Reframing it in your own mind to allow yourself to know that you're still that being, even if you're not acting in that role at this time going forward, because you are being called to practice something else that is going to take up a lot of your time. Some people are going to blame you for not taking up that role that you were in. You are enabling. Sorry, I don't mean to like scold you. It just came out that way. So I feel sad when I say it that way to you, because I don't want to hurt you, but I feel like that could have hurt when I said it. So just know that I'm feeling that. And maybe it's just like this reading trying to break in there and be like, yes, feel that, feel that. Because once you're the version of yourself who's allowed to feel that, then you won't be scared of what you got to do next, which is break that mold and step out of that pattern and that loop. And so the feeling is what needs your acknowledgement, your validation. It's valid to feel. It's scary when you've been supported or been supporting others and then you're about to break out of that cycle. It's scary. Like, I can think of in a situation in my life where it's like, if I stepped away from helping a particular person in my life, they would, who knows how deep they would fall. But there is this point where if you're enabling somebody, they will never grow and learn past what they need to. And if you're ready to grow and learn into something else, maybe they are too. And who's going to answer the call? So if you you validate that feeling, how it does feel bad and scary and sad and all these things, and it could be disappointing, and and it could be grief, and you are accepting that those are the things that you're ready to feel now, and then be present with each feeling, like for as long as it needs, not pushing it away, not trying to justify it, not wishing it was different, but being the version of you that can be with and sit with and process that feeling. I mean, sometimes it's like get in the bathtub and cry and, put some crystals and some Epsom salt in there and just know that you're not going to hurt yourself no matter how bad it feels. And you just cry and you fucking cry. And whatever you've got to do to let that emotion come out, get in a safe container, a safe space. No resistance to feeling it. No resistance. Promising yourself that you won't hurt yourself or anyone else. These are uncomfortable feelings. It's no wonder that you've been avoiding feeling them. And it's just time. And this is one of the hard things that humans sometimes have to do, and not all humans. And you may feel like it's not fair and all that kind of stuff. And those are feelings that you can process through too. This is growing you so much. And I want to say this, that the process of leaving this cycle and to not enable it anymore is part of the process that you are meant to have. Meaning, you feel like you've been stuck in this, and that was always meant to happen eventually. It was always meant to happen that you would eventually feel stuck, and then you would be faced with what it is to get out of it. And the version of yourself that you become in the process of doing that is the version of you that not only filled the role of being in it, but got yourself out of it, and then is ready to move into the next thing, which will be something that your passion drives you to. It's something new. It's something that you're going to have to figure it out as you go. There'll be trial and error. There'll be practice. You'll be fascinated. You will be fascinated. You will not feel stuck again while you're in the new phase. You'll know the difference because you won't feel that stuckness, and you'll be fascinated. So what you're putting off is the next leg of your journey, which is calling to you, because it's what's exciting to you. It's exciting. Sometimes we could interpret excitement as anxiety. It's all about what story you want to tell yourself about it. Is it anxiety inducing, or is it exciting? It's out of your comfort zone either way. And the thing you've been doing in order to, instead of doing this thing, is part of the process anyway. So you've been in process all along. It's just maybe you didn't realize it. Maybe you didn't know that the steps that you were about to take were part of the journey, and that the difficult part was part of it too. Yeah. I hope you feel excited for yourself. Pick 2. Good stuff. Okay, we're going to end your reading there. Okay. Ooh, really good. Okay. Pick 3. Nice. All right, pick 3. What is the thing you've been doing instead of the thing that you need to be doing? We got lies. Okay. It could be something where you're accepting someone else's lie or lying to yourself. I kind of feel like, do I want to take these? I feel like you would feel that way too. Like, is this something? Is this true? Is this, something like that? Is this true? All right, let's see. I'll just go with these. Hopefully, yeah. All right, nourishment. Okay, what are you doing instead of the thing you could be doing? Nourishment, inner urge, duplicated, and revisit. You've been revisiting an old urge in order to get more sustenance. Okay. Interesting. It feels just like a continuation of pile 2 in a way. So if you were drawn to both, definitely check that out. But and if you come from pile 2, let's see if there's something else here. But I'm just going to repeat a recap of what I had come to in pile 2, which is basically like whatever you've been doing is amping you up for and preparing you for the next step. That, okay, this is a little bit different than pick 2, okay? But you've been revisiting something. Oh, okay, let's go in a different angle with this. It still could be, if you felt drawn to both, but let's say it this way, right? Because really it's all about the story we're telling about something, and this might be another way to say the same thing. Same scenario could fit, might not. Take it as it resonates. There was something that you felt called to, and you are now revisiting it. It was in the past. Whenever you feel depleted and need nourishment, you go to this thing. Okay. Could be an old habit, a person, a place, a thing, an activity, a food, way of behaving, a behavior. Okay, so there's something that you do feel drawn to it. You do, or maybe you did in the past. Thing is overwhelming. I think when you do it, you get cloudy vision. You're like, okay, it's like this. What if this was a thing that you were drawn to? You were totally meant to participate in it. You were meant to have the experience, and then you were meant to move on from it. However, instead, you kept telling yourself, I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep having this experience because I know I was called to it. And I feel like when you're in it, when you're having the experiences, it is extremely disorienting and overwhelming. And I mean, this is going to be a silly thing to say, but it would be as if you were meant to try a certain drug one time just so you would know what it was like, but then you kept going back to it. I just heard that the line from Katy Perry's Dark Horse song, where I don't know who the guy is that's rapping in it or whatever, or freestyling in it, and he goes, "You messed around and got addicted." Um, all right, let me see. What is pick 3 doing instead of the thing they could be doing? Life of the party. Fascinated. Interesting. And 48 hours. Huh. This might be why it's tied into pile 2. They were meant to be moving into something that did fascinate them. You could be a version of this where you already feel fascinated by the loop you're in. Okay? Unlike them, or maybe at times you feel like you're stuck, but at times you don't feel like you're stuck. You're living it up. You are keeping your options open. Oh, gosh. Is it a bunch of one night stands? Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah. 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 Okay. There could be a string of one night stands here for someone. And it's like, don't realize it's a cycle because you're living on dopamine hits. And that's why you don't invest too deeply and you keep like revisiting the scenario with new options because the novelty is what gets the dopamine going. If it's the same person, it doesn't get the novelty. All right. This is interesting because I have been watching a few YouTube videos from a therapist guy who talks about attachment styles. And I've watched a couple videos on avoidant attachment. Okay, this is fascinating. It's 2:22 on the clock as I'm saying this. This is a message for someone. This might be too specific for some people. I don't know. I'm just going to talk, okay? All right. I like this guy's videos because the way he's talking about avoidant attachment is very respectful. And some people would automatically categorize avoidant attachment as like a narcissist. That's not the case. I loved coming across his videos because it just was the truth and it made sense to me. And he said, he talked about ethical avoidant attachment versus non-ethical avoidant attachment. So, first of all, let's cover attachment style. Attachment style is based on the upbringing that you had and the attachment that you did or did not have with parents. You develop a way of relating to others. We all do this. There are little quizzes and stuff online. I mean, I don't know, if you can find a reputable one for free, then go ahead, maybe do a few to see if it all comes out the same. You know, one thing about avoidant attachment is it's said that they usually will not identify themselves as having that issue. The avoidant attachment style has adapted in such a way that was very important for them, and maybe I've thought this about my brother sometimes, that he's just a genius because empathy and drowning in emotion and stuff has never been an issue for him. And that was an adaptation. And one of the videos this therapist guy talked about was like that this was an adaptation that was useful to our society. And I have to agree. I have to agree because you will drown in emotions if you let yourself, and they're not meant to be ruling us. They're pieces of information. Okay? So on the one hand, very valuable way of operating because these people will run more on logic. And if they are ethical, they will still consider other people. Now, where it becomes a challenge is in relating to other people because the bonds that are formed between people are formed with oxytocin. And with people who are avoidant, they usually do, they have They don't have a way to get oxytocin. They get very little oxytocin. So they don't become bonded to their loved ones through oxytocin like average people who are living with emotion as part of their day-to-day life. Avoidance will be avoiding, drowning and taking the data of emotions to make their choices. And the thing about it is that some avoidant attachment people then adapt because what they do feel good about is dopamine. Dopamine gives them the good feels. Well, dopamine gives us all a good feeling, but that's the only one they have access to, besides what this therapist called vasopressin or something like that. Vasopressin is sort of like what happens when you trauma bond. So if you face challenges with somebody, someone with an avoidant attachment, if they face a challenge with somebody and they successfully get through that challenge together, they feel more bonded to that person. It's essentially a trauma bond. And maybe to other degrees, it's not such a trauma bond, but just a bond that's based on this need for challenge and problem solving. So between that and dopamine, those are the ways that they feel their good feelings. Now, I do believe that the other attachment, like a healthy attachment, can be achieved through practice, with the right partner, like this guy talks about it in such a way where it's completely possible. And I love that about him because that's the same truth that I have, that things can be healed when we want to, when we become aware of it, when we understand it. And he has a lot of like biological input to support his methods, and I appreciate that. But one of the things that can happen if it's not being treated, and if someone is not aware of it, even if they are an ethical person, they may get into this cycle of looking for the dopamine because otherwise they don't really feel, and they want to feel alive, and they want to feel happy, and they want to feel fulfilled, and they notice that they don't have a consistent partner, and that it's a lot of work to constantly assess the risk of being in contact with somebody. And that is what this is reminding me of. You may have a pattern of going for the dopamine hits. And this is saying that you're doing that to avoid. Let's see what you're avoiding. What could you be doing instead? You could have a lot to be thankful for even within a week. You could be taking into consideration everybody's highest good. Well, here's the thing, because not only are you having to forego your own highest good, because subjecting yourself to a lot of sexual partners is risky in itself. Maybe you're very careful, maybe not, but like you have to notice the damage you do in your wake, and that has to weigh on you, especially if you're an ethical person. The damage you do, where some of the partners that you match up with have expectations of you and end up getting hurt or whatever. And also you may have come across one that you're like, oh, that one might have been worth investing in and I'll never know. And all these type of things, like it's not in the highest good of all for you to operate this way. What could you be doing instead? You could be ending the cycle. You could be deciding to be grateful for what you do have, maybe even grateful for the fact that there have been advancements in therapies that will address these type issues, and also overlooked. Oh, also you could be addressing the issue where you've overlooked someone, something. Because you were operating this way, looking for dopamine hits, you overlooked things that were in your highest good, things that you would be extremely grateful for. Okay, anything else here? What could they be doing instead? What could they be doing instead? I've got celebrate and deception. You could be celebrating that you no longer have to deceive anyone, including yourself. You could celebrate that you are willing to look yourself right in the eyes and see this for what it is. Depressed. You could recognize your need for some deep rest. Deep rest. Why? Because there's a lot of things that you're going to want to process and you're going to want to be with them, whatever it is within you that needs processing. It's like you're initiating yourself into the healing road. That's what you could be doing. And you could actually look at what you are hungering for. Let yourself feel the hunger so you know what it is that you're hungering for, instead of always just trying to stuff something in there. It's like you have been tending to a wound on a very surface level, just trying to keep the band-aid on, and then the band-aid slips off and you put another band-aid on, and the band-aid slips off and you put another band-aid on. And for so long it hasn't been healing. You don't know why, but you're just putting the band-aid on, putting the band-aid on. And this is kind of saying let's stop putting the band-aid on and let's let this thing air out. Let's see what's in there. Let's get quiet with self. Let's see what's really at the root of this. Let's see what's in your highest good of all. Sometimes a band-aid is going to be a detriment to a wound that needs some air, to a wound that needs to be seen, to a wound that needs some disinfectant. I got victory. You could be getting over this instead of living in it. Wow, you must be something, because I think it's a high calling, because this is something that has resulted on Earth as a remnant or a result of our relating dynamics, about how we've raised our children in some sort of way that didn't fully allow them to attach and bond in the most ideal way. Sometimes this could be as simple as mother had to work. But there could be other factors, and there could be an alcoholic in the family, and there could be personality disorders, and there could just be narcissistic ways of relating. It could be just unfair relating dynamics. It could be someone else who was already avoidant passing it along. There could be a lot of factors. It could be just people worried about their reputation and how they look to everyone else, so they forget that it matters to check in with your family members and how they feel. Make sure they feel loved and cared for and understood, and that their feelings matter. These things have kind of taken it. There's been effects of these kind of relating dynamics in our society, and this is something that's widespread now, right? That therapist guy has, what's his name? I gotta give you his name, obviously. He has some statistics, but I forget what he said. about how many people are necessarily like avoidant and stuff. But what I'm saying is, like, this is a high calling to take this on, because this takes a brave, strong person. Like, not just anybody is going to tackle this, because the other way works. Putting the band-aids on over and over again works. Yeah, you leave a lot of hurt in your wake, but if you're an ethical man, you don't want to do that. All right, so his name is Adam Lane Smith. Adam Lane Smith is his YouTube name. And I haven't watched all his videos. I don't necessarily endorse every single word he's ever said, but the videos that I have watched, I liked them very much. I thought they were very useful. I was fascinated by the topic. And yeah, I'm glad to have happened upon the information, because it helped me make sense of some things, not only in my own life, but like, of looking at others and things like that. Because I want to have compassion for people, and it makes sense to me that someone would operate the way that I may have seen them operate, given the fact that they were running on dopamine and that was the only thing that could make them feel good. Of course you would live that way. Here's why I can see that, because like once upon a time, I was addicted to opiates, like pain pills, OxyContin, and I was prescribed it, but I was definitely addicted. And one time I got my pills taken away because I went to the doctor, and even though I was prescribed it, I had smoked some pot with my family on Thanksgiving. And I don't do that anymore, but I did then. And because that was in my system, they took away my prescription. And I was so mad, and I felt like I have a right to feel good enough, like, for life. Like, I didn't feel like I needed that feeling. Like, that's all I had going for me. And I felt like so justified in having those pills just so I could like have a good feeling in my mind, in my body, in my everything. Those pills were the only thing making me feel good. So I kind of equate it to that. It's like, if the only thing that makes you feel good is the dopamine, I understand wanting to get the dopamine, you know? But it is, it is going to wear on you after a while. It is going to leave a lot of trouble in your wake, and it's so much extra work. Like, the way that this guy has described the operating system that people who are in avoidant attachment style have to use, it's very energy consuming, just like holding up a mask all the time, basically, which we all do, but like, it's like, that's a heavy one. All right. So, not saying you're a terrible person, but this is, I guess, an invitation, an initiation into what could be. And wow, that sounds exciting to me. Okay, that's the end of your reading. I'm going to move on to pick 4. Pick 4. All right. You chose healed from. I'm just getting my Palo Santo here on the fire over here on the candle. I'm just going to do a little Palo Santo to clear. All right, pick 4. Sorry if my blowing it is oh shit. Hot, hot, hot. I had to get it closer. All right. What is pick 4 doing instead of the thing they could be doing? What is pick 4 doing to avoid the thing they could be doing? Or any such variety. Okay. We got true and companion. Oh my god, that's a song, isn't it? True companion. Who sings that? They sing it a lot better than I just did. It's like a man, and he's like, "Be my true companion." Beautiful song, anyways. All right, what are you doing? You're being a friend. You're being a true companion. Okay. Master. That brought another song, Master of Puppets. Ask for assistance from appropriate. Denial. And affected health. Okay. Okay. I'm just thinking a second how to voice this. Thank you for your patience. Pick four. All right, pick four. So you may not know that this thing has affected your health, or it could be that somebody else has affected health. And you could be saying that you're just acting like a good friend and doing a lot for this person. Okay. You may be doing a lot for a friend who has affected health. Or you may not know that what you've been doing for a friend is affecting your health. All right. Let's see. What could they be doing instead? Humiliation, apathetic, reputation, and new story. Maybe this isn't a real friend. Okay, so what is your definition of a friend, right? And maybe you've healed from something and you have a friend that wants you to help them too. And actually, I don't think they're necessarily doing the thing that would heal them or help them. It's like you can't make them do it. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Okay. Years ago, I discovered this concept. I was talking to somebody, and okay, so I actually met him outside my therapist's, in the waiting room of my therapist. There's a whole terrible situation here, okay? I meet this guy in the waiting room of my therapist. We happen to end up at the same restaurant after therapy, so we end up seeing each other outside of the therapist's office. So we talk. It's a great conversation, actually. I was pretty excited by it because he was sort of, friendly and different and into cool stuff. And then he offered to fix my Jeep. I was in a desperate situation and I did not have any money to fix my Jeep. My Jeep was in need of some help, but my finances were not allowing it. So I had been just kind of waiting it out and, like figuring out what I was going to do. I end up bringing my Jeep over to this guy. Now I had a boyfriend at the time. It wasn't anything romantic with this guy. It was a total friend thing, and he was offering, and I was like, I had gotten a sign earlier that day that something great was going to happen, so I decided to just go with it. It's really fucked up as I'm saying it right now. Um, so with the help of my boyfriend, we dropped my Jeep off. So after a while, I'm supposed to call and see if it's fixed or whatever. Keep calling, can't get in touch with the guy, end up going there to get my Jeep back. find a, the guy who owns the shop where it is, which is supposed to be a friend of the guy who took it for me to fix. And he said the guy was there tinkering in it and stuff, you know. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to take it. Because, I mean, I haven't talked to the guy. I don't know what's going on. Kind of feeling weird about the whole thing now. I get in it, and like the 4-wheel drive engage button is broken off. It's got scotch tape holding it on. Okay. And I discover that this person that I've decided to trust with my vehicle is a complete lunatic and has no intentions of actually doing any of the things that he said or talked about, and is actually a like kind of like this like vampirish person who does not want to heal anything, because we talked about healing methods and I had just been getting into my healing journey, and like I saw it all in retrospect. After the fact, I got to see him clearly. Now, I do think I was meant to have that experience because it taught me something so valuable. I was just dumb. I was naive. I was coming out of this time period where I had been sort of isolated and working with God, and like doing all this like cool quantum healing and like miracles and moving clouds and talking to animals. It was, I wasn't on drugs. I swear it was a real experience that I had that was very magical. A lot of just like in my upper chakras, I had my Kundalini rise. It was amazing time in my life. But this was me coming back into like reality and life and like what other people are experiencing and like gonna see my shadows kind of thing. One of my shadows was being very naive and trusting this other person and trusting the signs to show me and thinking that the signs were showing me like something great that I was going to experience. But actually what the signs were showing me is the next thing I had to experience. And what I had to experience was understanding, because afterwards, after I understood, I could read his energy and I was like, oh, this man does not want to heal, but he told me that because that's what interested me. And he wanted my attention. That's what it was. That's all it was. And that man would do that over and over again with whoever would give him the attention. He would feed them the lines. Like he goes to that was not my therapist anymore, but he goes to that therapist because he likes the attention, not because he's actually healing stuff. And I was so like, wow, I didn't even know people like that existed, which sounds crazy and ridiculous because I was an adult, but I really didn't know. Anyway, I'm sharing this with you because that's the sense that I'm getting, and that's the memory that was just popped into my head about that guy who made it like he wanted to heal, but he didn't want to heal. And when I saw that pattern in somebody, it was puzzling to me. It didn't make sense to me, but I had to accept that that was the truth of the thing. And I kind of feel like it might be sort of humiliating to admit what you have to admit about the situation you've been in, about how you've been treated. For people to know about it, it might feel like you'll be embarrassed, or you might actually look bad to others. They might misinterpret what's been going on if you decide to up and one day walk away from this situation that is affecting you negatively and that you may have been in denial of for a while. And it has to do with a companion. Either your health is affected or theirs. You may not know that your health is affected because of that dynamic that you've been in with them. You could be living a whole new story. You could be healed from this, but yeah, you will have to take the hits on your pride that is keeping you from admitting the truth of the situation and worrying about what your reputation would be or feeling humiliated. It's like, those are tough things to feel. Those are hard things to feel. And you will come out the other side of it where it won't affect you anymore. What's on the other side? You'll know what an energy vampire feels like going forward. Now you know what it feels like. Now you know what it feels like right now, and it's drained you and it's caused a big health issue. That you could both be suffering from health issues. You've had this experience and now you know what it's like, and now you know what it's going to feel like, and you won't get into this again. This was important for you to know. You know, respected comes out as where you're headed, and it's like, who cares about the respect of everyone else? You'll respect yourself because you listened to yourself about the situation and you acted upon the information that you decided to accept and understand about what was going on. And you'll go live a new story. So, okay. This says you've been aware of this situation, but you've been locked in it with emotion or the avoidance of emotion. Something that you don't want to feel is keeping you in this situation. It's about the story you've been telling, about what it means about you, or how capable you are of feeling humiliated, about having your reputation tainted by this or whatever and being judged. This is requiring you to be in denial of a pressing truth or feeling. The feeling is already there, it's just you're pushing it away, and all that energy to push it away is further draining your energy. And this pattern has manifested in a health issue which you can directly trace to the situation. So, what part of your health is suffering? Look at that. And then there are Louise Hayes has a book about the metaphysical correlation to ailments. And somebody has put it online, so you don't even have to buy the book to know it. You could Google search it. Just whatever the ailment is, and then Louise Hayes metaphysical correlation. So if it's like my back hurts, just write back Louise Hayes metaphysical correlation, and it will bring up a page or maybe someone's blog or whatever. You'll get to see people's ideas about what the metaphysical correlation of the back issues would be. Whatever issue it may be, you can, and when you read it, it might be the story that you're living, right? And that will just help you kind of come into the acceptance of the reality that you're stepping into, which is a reality where you won't have to live this anymore, but the reality where you had to get yourself out of it. How is this serving me? So there's a hidden benefit. Offensive. You could be actively being offended. How is this serving me? Is it like how you're punishing yourself by staying in it? Do you not think that you're worth more? These are just, I know I'm asking these questions in a flippant way, and I don't mean them to be, because I know the answers could be really tender and sensitive and stuff, but like there's some sort of hidden benefit to staying in this. Ask yourself what that is, and if you can identify that, then you'll have the first step to undoing this. And so you're going to acknowledge it, validate why you've been doing it or why it's there, and accept that this is where you're at, and then be present with the feelings that are associated. So the humiliation. Be present with whatever you feel about the situation, offended, what you feel when you have been hurt in this way. Okay. So basically, pick 4 is You may have healed versions of this before, but there's a layer of it now again that you're in a situation that you're sort of in denial of, because maybe you want to feel like you've already done the work to heal this part. You've already learned this lesson, so maybe you don't want to admit that you've been in it again. But this is kind of saying like, you can do it. The only way out of this is through it, and you can do it. You got this. Especially since you've already done another layer of it before. You know you can survive this. You know, we will only process the layer that we're prepared to process. So sometimes that's not going to be right to the root, and that's okay. You just get what you can out of the wound, right? 7 to 8 months is coming out, so everything's going to look different within 7 to 8 months. But maybe this has been going on for 7 to 8 months that you've known. You got to trust yourself. Trust yourself, not what you're being told. Okay? Okay. I just flicked some of the cards off the back, which I will go get them, but I just want to say that, like, you may not, it might feel like some of the benefits of it are elusive. Just stick with it. Some of the benefits of doing so will come to you as soon as 48 hours. Wow. I love that. So even though you'll see some benefits right away, there'll be more that come later that you won't even realize right away. Okay? Pick 4. So good. Love it. Gonna end your reading there. Bye now.